That is a beautiful cover indeed. So now I would like to request Ms. Ridhi's family to join us on stage for a picture. I would like to request the guest of honors to share some words for the book, for the cover, and what do they think about it?
So,
Definitely, sir.
so you say, like, inform
all my friends here, and especially Ridhi Gupta. She is written on the observant eye. I tell you, I can do anything. From the beginning till end, I can give love, I can give hatred, I can tell you get out, I can say welcome. Everything can be done by eye, and you don't need to speak anything. And then you can say, I never say meant that, I never did that, because your eye has said, but it is absolutely, of course, all the parts of our body is very important, but I think eye is absolutely very, very good. And yes, I think when good old days, when I was in the college, I knew, I don't know whether I was doing or others were doing. A boy wants to have a love with a girl in the class. I was the only thing. You dare not say that I love you, but if I can tell her that I love you. So, Ridhi Gupta, you are very good. You are doing a wonderful job, and after coming here, I have seen, and you are 21 years, and you will remain 21 years for next 10 years. Let me tell you, keep on saying 21 years, 21 years. See, all of us have agreed, and it's nice that this thing and he's started doing this for a long time. His journey began as 13 years old, unaware of a gift of writing. Her poetries were nothing but pieces of scribbles for her. It was not until people around her started to read them with astonishment, and she realized her potential as a fellow writer whose emotions were her strengthened. And we, all of us, respect you, Ridhi, that you will keep on doing this, and I'm sure you will do extremely well. And the contents given is love. Yes, of course, love is your eye needs love. You can't do without your eyes. Hurt, hurt, heartbreak, fear, hope, longing, solace in chaos, and sometimes when the husband and wife want to fight with them, the eye is the only because you dare not speak, but I can tell them to each other, and they understand absolutely very, very clearly. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your kind words, sir. आपने जो बात बोली वो मतलब दिल को छू गई कि आंखों से सब कुछ शुरू होता है एंड आई ऑनेस्टली फील कि बिल्कुल आपने टू द पॉइंट प्रिसाइज बात करी बिकॉज आई फील दैट तन्हाई का द्वार और प्यार का इजहार दोनों आंखों से ही होता है छोटा सा बढ़िया nonetheless I would like to request the next guest of honor to please say a few words for the book.
Dear Banerjee, respected P.H. Parekh sir, my colleagues in the audience, ladies and gentlemen, and the person of the moment, Ridhi. As Parik sir said, eyes are the most expressive part of our body. If many of you who might have seen Kathakali or Kathak dance, the whole story is expressed through the eyes, the movement of the eyes, the expressions, everything is expressed through the eye. The title of the book in itself is conveying how deep thinking Ridhi has developed at such a young age. In our Hindi language, we say कि आपका जो कैरेक्टर है वो आपके बचपन में आपके पालने में ही दिख जाता है. I am seeing a great poet in Ridhi at such a young age. The little I could read in short time, the chapters, the way she has given, and the deep thinking she has given to every word in every poem really speaks of the maturity with which the young poet is expressing the thoughts. It's a known fact that a poet's imagination has no boundaries. Sky is the limit. A poet can express something which is thousands of miles below the earth and thousands of miles above the earth. And with the imagination, a poet will create a feeling in which the poet takes you to that world which she is talking about or he is talking about. That depth of a poet I find when I received the message from the father, Neeraj ji, yesterday. He wrote that every chapter Ridhi has started with 4-liner. When I see these 4-liners in each chapter are really, carrying in-depth understanding of life by Ridhi. The very first poem which she writes on love, see how beautifully she expresses embarrassing the love's origin. Under the sky, you and I lean towards a better life, one with love at the core, hardship at the shore. She has in 4-liner described the whole life, the meaning of the life, and the end of the achievement of the life. That is the beauty with which she has written. I must congratulate her. And I look forward for many more such occasions to participate with. I must also congratulate Neeraj and Madam. They have really reared up her so well that all of us, she has made proud all of us. Thank you and congratulations, Ridhi.
Very well said, sir. Thank you for your kind words. And again, the whole point is that we have so beautiful observant eyes sitting right here. जब मैंने कवर देखा मैंने बोला इसमें तो आँख है, वो तो डेप्थ और सब की बात उन्होंने बाद में की तो मुझे रियलाइज हो कि डैम इतना खूबसूरत तरीके से छोटी-छोटी इंटरव्यूज पे ध्यान दिया गया था. I would like to request sir to please say some kind words.
Thank you very much for this wonderful invitation to this wonderful program. Usually I get invited to these seminars that are like heavy duty topic where they will want me to speak on some arcane questions of law, but this is a wonderful program to be invited to. Thank you, Parik sir, Khanna sir, Ridhi ji's was a wonderful, wonderful book that I read. And, I'm not a person too much into poetry. I must confess this, we barely have the time. We have enough time to read our briefs. So it really becomes very difficult to take time now to read poetry. So that's a problem. But if someone asks me as to what sort of poetry interests me, I personally, I like a lot of, there are two, I treat a lot of, one of very controversial, I don't know whether I should say this, I like Rudyard Kipling. And one of my favorite poems of Rudyard Kipling, I know, it's very controversial, he has this, one is the Ballad of East and West. Where the east is east and the west is west. Never the twain shall meet till two strong men stand face to face before God's judgment seat. Wonderful poems, a lot of them beautifully based in India. But my most favorite poem of all is, I don't know how many of you ever read or loved the poem If you can, walk with kings, not lose the common touch. And I think that's wonderful. But I love also reading the poetry of Bob Dylan, who has got a Nobel Prize in Literature now for being a poet rather than a songwriter. Bob Dylan very famously was a very famous songwriter of the 60s, and he got his wonderful. So I love Hard Rain's Gonna Fall, or for that matter, the times they are changing. Wonderful, and you treat them as poetry. And but the great thing about poetry, what I feel, is poetry is both completely personal, as well as it's universal. So every poem has to have a universal message. Everybody should be able to understand it, but everybody reacts to a poem separately. So it's like whenever I talk about If, for example, it may not appeal to everybody, but everybody, you can see it on YouTube, it's just wonderful, replicated and heard. So that's the great thing about poetry, good poetry. And, we oft quote lines of poetry as part of our language. So, we do that in songs as well, and we do that in poetry. So sometimes when we are talking, we insert these two quotations for poetry, because I think poetry expresses the words better than we can. So to that extent, it's a great thing. But I will only say that Ridhi ji's poems which I went through and had the opportunity to see it on, it's a wonderful book. And I think the most importantly, the poems speak to you. You can relate to it. And again, I see a lot of blank verse which very frankly goes above my head, not that I understand much. But these poems actually, they're wonderful poems and they speak to you. I'll just sort of speak about two, which I wrote and which I thought was like really wonderful, which spoke to me. One was Yearning from Afar, where heart aches to see you get away. Farther than this heart can see, heart breaks to leave this city, one that you reside in. As an immigrant to this city, I come from Kolkata. I have wonderful memories of that city, you grow up in. And I've traveled all the world, and I've stayed at places for some times, and I've left those cities for months sometimes. There are wonderful people you meet in those cities. And then you move on. Because life takes you on, that's life's journey. So this is a recurrent theme which I've always sort of felt. And so this, I think, speaks to me in various ways. I don't know whether it speaks to you, but to me, it's a continuous theme that you are leaving your parents, leaving your wonderful people whom you meet, and you go on and on and on, and you yearn for them, you're nostalgic for them. Sometimes you go back to those places thinking that maybe you will feel the same, but it never happens. That's another side of it. Like, there have been so many times when I studied in